Hi everyone, it's Christy. I wanted to take a couple of minutes and just kind of talk to you about my rheumatoid arthritis story. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in November of 2011. At the time, that summer before, I had just started noticing when I got up out of bed, my feet were really sore. It almost felt like I was walking on really sharp rocks. I don't want to say pins and needles because it wasn't that fine, but they were just really, really tender. I also started noticing that the very tip joint in my fingers started to pop a lot, and you might have just heard one right there. But they just started popping, and I'm not a person that pops my knuckles. I never really have been. But I just started noticing that they would get a little stiff, and I'd have to kind of pop them to get them to be mobile again and to move. So I didn't really know what to think about it. I was starting to run more at the time and incorporate more running into my exercise routine. So I thought maybe I was just overdoing it on my feet, running and getting out there and just overusing them. So I would stop running and it actually would get a little bit better. And then it just started happening and being sore all the time, every day when I would wake up, no matter how much rest I had from running, no matter what I had done the day before. And I also just felt like a general fatigue, like I was just constantly tired. And it just so happens that I was reading a book called The Secret Life of Cece Wilkes. I'll link that down below, but one of the characters in the book ends up developing rheumatoid arthritis, and she starts having problems with her feet in the morning when she gets up. And it was just really interesting that I was reading the book at that time, because as I'm reading it, I'm reading about all these symptoms that I'm having. And I don't know that I'm necessarily a hypochondriac, but I do feel like I'm pretty in tune with my body. So if something's wrong, I really can feel what's going on and start to question, what's the root cause of this, what's happening, what's really going on here. So I ended up making an appointment with my doctor, my nurse practitioner at the time. She was wonderful. And, I told her everything that was going on, and she was like, okay, we'll just run some tests, we'll run some blood work and see, if anything comes back. So when we got the blood work back, I did have an elevated rheumatoid factor, which is one of the things that they commonly look for. 80% or so of the population that gets tested for rheumatoid arthritis is seropositive for Rh, or rheumatoid factor. I did have that, as well as a couple of other elevated blood levels. With that information, she referred me to a rheumatologist locally, and they took a little bit closer look at my blood work. They ran a couple of additional tests, repeated a couple of things, but they also really examined each and every one of my joints, and especially the ones that were giving me a little bit more trouble. So they examined each one of my joints and my fingers and my hip, my shoulders, my toes. Really, anywhere where you have a joint in your body, you can be affected by rheumatoid arthritis, as well as some other places. So after going through that assessment and that evaluation, he was pretty sure that what we were looking at was rheumatoid arthritis. The great thing for me, and the thing that I feel so lucky and fortunate about, was that we were able to catch my RA diagnosis very early. I think partly because I was so in tune with my body, and partly because I was so fortunate to have stumbled across that character in the book that was having some of the same problems that I was. We were able to start treating me in November. Since that time, I've been treated with Plaquenil and also meloxicam. So Plaquenil kind of treats the underlying immune system, and they think it kind of helps suppress whatever is going wrong with the immune system and why it's attacking your joints, or why it's attacking itself. And then the meloxicam is just an anti-inflammatory, so it kind of takes care of anything that might be residual that is not knocked out with the Plaquenil itself. It will be 3 years for me to be on that course of therapy here coming up this November 2014, so I feel very fortunate that that regimen has been working for me so far. every 6 months you go to the doctor and it could be a different story, but right now that's where I'm at, that's what I'm on, and I do feel very fortunate with that. I do also have kind of a rescue, if you'll consider it that, a rescue prednisone dosing schedule. So like when I move, or if I go hiking and just completely overdo it, or just don't let myself calm down and not not overdo it, which is a problem with me. Not doing too much is a problem with me. I've really had to learn how to kind of back off and listen to my body and be more respectful to it. But I have some prednisone on hand just in case I need it, in case I have a really sore day. Sometimes a storm will come in and it's just trouble. It's trouble for me to get out of bed. Sometimes it's trouble for me to be able to open containers in the morning so that I can feed myself. And I am single. I live, just with my dog. So it's important that I'm able to do some of those ADLs, those daily living activities, so that I can feed myself and I can have my coffee and I can do my work and all those kinds of things from home. And also so that I can drive and do the things that I need to do. So I do have that as a rescue as well. So what I'd like to do with this YouTube channel and with my blog is just give you some perspective on what I've learned over the last 3 years and some of the products that I've tried out, things that have worked for me, as well as some things that I incorporate into my daily life, my day-to-day that really bring joy for me and really help me look beyond that diagnosis and beyond living with RA there. It is something I have to think about every day, unfortunately, but it's not something that has to get me down and in the dumps every day. There are a lot of things that I can do still, and more to come. And I think it's offered a lot of perspective for me as well. So I do think that there are pros and cons to having this kind of diagnosis, but through this channel and through my blog, I really hope to reach those of you that may be struggling to find information, maybe struggling to find a resource or a friend out there. When I was diagnosed, I looked everywhere. I looked everywhere for information. I looked everywhere for anybody who had been through what I was going through. And there are a few folks out there. I'll link a couple of those folks down below. But I didn't find a whole lot. And I found a lot of information about symptoms and treatment and management and what your doctor may or may not do and all of that. But I was really missing the piece of having somebody's face to put with the struggle that I was having. And, do I consider, a different job? Do I need to consider, a different way to life? What makeup things are going to be best to cover a rash if I develop that from a certain medication? Or, one of the reviews I will do will be on a product that I use for kind of an oral antiseptic cleanser to help eliminate the possibility of getting mouth sores that are caused as a side effect from one of my medications. So I was really looking for kind of that connection with somebody, and I'm hoping that with the introduction of this channel and with the blog that some of you will be able to find comfort in that. And also some of you that don't have rheumatoid arthritis. Maybe it's lupus or cancer or something else that's affecting you day to day or at different points in your life. Hopefully you can find some kind of solace and community here. That's really what I'm hoping for this channel. So I do know that RA will be part of my journey the rest of my life, but it doesn't have to dictate where that journey goes and how I live my life. So I hope you'll come with me on this adventure and we will experience these things together. Thank you so much for watching and joining. Please subscribe, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.